So I've just come across this article where AI chatbot has replaced employees um, at a drive-through at a fast food. So now it's picking up voice recognition, right? It's like, hi, what can I get for you today? Yeah, guys, get a 10-piece McNugget meal, large Coke, interpreted. Any sauces with that? Little 60. But kind of tells you how like it's evolved. So like, yikes.
It's surprising that it happened so late with like voice sort of
You think so?
recognition. Well, I mean, with AI, with like detecting what the customer wants from like drive-thrus, I thought it would happen a lot sooner because it's not that. I wouldn't say it's that complicated in terms of like other things we've seen AI do. Like I've seen like AI, like a recent video, like Khan Academy, the guy who's the CEO.
Oh yeah.
Khan
Yeah,
Academy.
yeah, yeah.
There's like a video of him with his son where his son was using, I think it was probably ChatGPT or some AI, where he was learning how to do like trigonometry, and he's on his like iPad, and he's like, and the question was like, oh, identify what the hypotenuse is, like the long side of the triangle, and he was like on it, and he's just like writing on it on the triangle and stuff, and the AI would give him feedback in real time.
Wow.
So when he's putting like when he's picking the wrong side, the AI was giving him hints of what it is. And then he was just like, oh, why is this the case? He was like, so the AI was giving him real time answers and hinting him towards where it is and why it is the case. So I'm like, that is incredible. Like imagine just having your own AI tutor at just the palm of your hands. It's like any topic you're learning. It's like if I was at school right now, I'd be killing it with this type of AI thing. I'm just like, they're quite fortunate to have this in some sense, in the way that, like, sometimes when I look back in high school, I'm like, there's some questions I didn't ask because I was just afraid of sounding like an idiot. And there's also times where I just want to annoy the teacher. But now it's like with AI, I can ask as many questions as I want and sound as stupid as I want as well. So,
you know what? You're right. I think that's really allowed people to actually learn. I think you're right. I think people avoid to ask questions because they're so afraid of how it's going to be perceived. But a lot of the times you actually realize that the question you want to ask is actually the same question a lot of people want to ask as well, but they have the exact same thing, process that, they don't want to be shamed or seen as, oh, it's sort of an ego thing as well. It's like, oh, if I ask this question, I'm going to look stupid. I don't want to look stupid. But the best way to learn is you've got to ask questions, right? But going back to this AI thing, like, this is an example where it's a very hands-on learning, teaching, rather than just spitting out the answer, because it gives you rationale, and it really makes you think methodically. How did you get to this answer? And a lot of the times, I think people can't really answer that question: is how did I get to this answer, and what did I use to get to this answer? And it goes back to like the 5 whys principle, right? Like you really have to peeling the onion, going layer by layer, like really understanding it to a very fundamental level.
yeah, definitely. And I think now with the fact that, because I think as like a kid, like what holds you back from that curiosity or like questioning that is like adult like rationality too early, where it's like it kills your childhood curiosity. I think because it's a lack of humility. Because asking questions like that, which may seem ridiculous to other people, it takes a sense of humility to be able to like learn. And I think the best learners are the ones who realize that they know nothing, and they just constantly are on always just learning and absorb and always asking questions. So I think that's with now AI, it sort of allows people to do it without any fear, because now you have you have something that has billions of data access to be able to answer a lot of the questions. But then I also think at the same time, you need to also be able to, because when you work in real like work environments, you need to also be able to ask questions to people as well. So it might make you very dependent on AI and get rid of fear. Whereas when you're in situations where you're in front of a crowd, talking amongst thousands or hundreds of people, doing a speech or asking questions, to like a leader or like a project manager or something, it makes you more fearful because you haven't trained yourself in those type of environment. And I feel like that's a con in a way with this AI thing. Whereas before you'd put yourself in those environments and that's how you would start to build courage and other things
Yeah.
about yourself.
I think another big part is asking the right questions. So I think for the human interaction, I think you've got to ask the right questions to get the right answer. Human interactions, you're able to you think of the question and then you ask that question in a right methodical way. With AI, if you notice how people use it, they just put random questions. And it's like, what are you trying to solve? Like, you should be questioning AI or whatever the prompts are in the same way that you'd approach a human. Because from what I've seen, the responses you get from AI when you actually really break it down is incredible. But it's sort of, you get a similar response from people. Depends on what environment you work in, but you get a similar response from people like that. But it's what I'm trying to get to is the line of questioning is very important because a lot of people want the answers. They just don't know how to ask the right questions to get the answers. I think it's a very important skill, asking the right questions. Sorry, yeah.
No, I was going to say, yeah, definitely. I think asking the right questions and actually the more specific you are, the better answers you'll get.
Yeah.
Like the more generic your questions are, you're going to get like, how's AI or how's anyone going to be able to even answer that question? Like if it's so generic, because there's a huge angle that they're trying to approach it from. So I think it's just like with the Socratic questioning in 5 Whys. I think the more specific you are, and we even went through de-risking and other things, the more specific you are with your assumptions, with your questions and things like that, the better answers you receive and the better output you'll get from not just AI, but from people as well. And also, as we said, I think earlier, like circle of confidence. If you know the right people to go to for the right information, the right people to go to for the topics that you're trying to explore, you get the right answer.
Mm. And then part of that is actually reaching out to people, which brings on the human interaction aspect, right? So so many people are afraid to ask questions. Like I still struggle with it time to time. It's like, oh, do I really want to bother this person? Like, is there a way I can just avoid it? But you know, you just got to bite the bullet and just do it.
Yeah, I think I agree as well. I think it's just, I think like the fear of letting the fear like basically restrict you isn't, I don't think, the way to go. Like the only way to really overcome it is just by putting yourself out there and just asking the question, just putting yourself out there. I think honestly is the only way you'll be able to really overcome fear. Like someone who's never done a speech in front of thousands of people is obviously going to be scared at the first day, right? Hundreds of people, whatever it is, you're going to be scared on the first day. But as you keep doing it consistently, then you just become used to that and you think it's not as bad as it was. You say the same thing over and over again. Oh, it's not as bad as I thought when you do it.
I know. It's such a common thing, right? People say that, oh, it wasn't actually as bad as I thought. So it's actually our anxious mind putting all these BS in our head, you know, before we do something. Like, oh, we've already determined the outcome in our brain and how it's going to play out. And therefore that then becomes it becomes our fact. Again, we base that opinion or that assumption as a fact. And then it just dictates our actions from there. And I think if you just take a step back and avoid that and just do it, you actually realize, yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. You hear it from so many people. Sometimes things do fall apart, and that does happen time to time. But most of the times, it's our own brain just telling us, hey, it's not going to work out. It's not. You're going to like fumble it so bad. Everything's going to go trash. Not 10 times, like, yeah, no, it wasn't actually like that. It was worked out pretty well.